to the gymnasium.
Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm Rob. And boy, do we got some news about what happened yesterday, just a week ago. God.
No, we're not talking about yesterday. Screw the Eagles. Screw them. Point blank. Well, not literally, but of course.
I was about to say, do you have something for Jalen Hurts? We didn't know that.
No. But yeah, like I said, listen, there's plenty of Giants podcasts out there talking about Saquon and the Eagles going to the Super Bowl. We're not doing it. Not doing it. Point blank. Because screw it. You know what? I've said it all along. I will say it again. The Eagles made it to the Super Bowl without Saquon. Unless they get a Super Bowl win, that signing was not a victory for them because you didn't advance to the next step. So that's the truth. That ain't me trying to be a Giants fan and twisting it. Point blank. That's the honest truth of the matter. So if you get him and all you do is get to the same exact spot you've already been.
Yeah. Is it really a step forward?
So, like I said, we're not going to go there. We'll wait till after the Super Bowl when they choke horribly, and we'll talk about it then. So. But we do got a lot of news to go over here with the draft quarterbacks there with Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. We also got an ex-Giant being hired as the new defensive coordinator there for the Lions. Could Wink Martindale and Mike Caff could be teaming up again. Got another Giant added to the Pro Bowl. And, of course, we're going to give our latest mock draft here, guys. We're going to start doing it once a month here up until the draft time comes because people keep asking, what about this situation? What about that situation? Well, listen, we could do a different mock draft every single episode, but I think eventually I'll get tired about that. Though I do think some people might actually enjoy it because I feel like it's like people love the mock drafts, but we're going to go through our January mock draft. And like I said, we'll continue doing one each month there up until the Super Bowl. The draft up into the Super Bowl is the last one we're doing. That's it.
Yeah.
Like I said, up into the draft, we'll do about one a month there for you guys there. So let's break right into it here with the Giants news. So Shedeur Sanders and the Giants. Very exciting, according to Sanders. This is a direct quote from Sanders, by the way, guys. So Garrett Podell of the CBS Sports there said, talking about Shedeur Sanders, he was unable to contain his excitement when detailing his relationship with the Giants. New York head coach Brian Daboll went over to chat with Sanders during the Shrine Bowl's first practice on Saturday. Daboll, general manager Joe Schoen, assistant general manager Brandon Brown, and assistant director of player personnel Dennis Hickey also made sure to catch up with Sanders in the lobby of the player hotel after practice Saturday afternoon as well. It was very exciting. We have a great relationship, Sanders said, of seeing and meeting with the Giants this week. They definitely showed up plenty of times, even to practice, just seeing the logos and seeing the scouts. It's very exciting. That sounds like I want to be a Giant. Am I crazy?
Yeah.
That sounds like, yeah. And don't get me wrong, I haven't heard of quotes he gave other teams. So I'm not suggesting it's the only place he wants to play. And I would assume he's smart enough not to say that. But, I just think that you look at this quote and you look at everything being said and how many times the Giants have been there, the stars are aligning. I just feel like that's what it's going to be is Shedeur Sanders is a Giant. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong. Won't be the last. But just something tells me everything is going towards that direction. And you saw the videos, were posted all over social media. And when as soon as like Daboll went up, he was like a passing like shake your hand kind of thing. Like he didn't. It wasn't like business like where I got to stop. I got to shake your hand and say hello. How are you? Like they obviously had some kind of relationship that they both smiled at each other. Like I do think that part of it is genuine. I really do. Now, will he be there? That's going to be the big question. That's going to be the big question. And I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be there. I think it's a fair thing to say that he could be there. He could absolutely not be there. And that's the problem with drafting 3 with 2 teams ahead of you that need a quarterback. Not a lot of quarterbacks out there. You have obviously him, you have Cam Ward, and after that, the third quarterback for most people is Jalen Milroe, who has trouble throwing the ball. Sorry, I'm just going to say it. I know there's some Milroe fans out there. And I've heard rumors today now that his hands are apparently Kenny Pickett sized.
Oh, Whopper Jr.
They're less than 9 inches, which is like the smallest hands of any starting quarterback in the NFL. So, yeah, like I said, it's these 2 guys. I know some people are big fans of Jackson Dart. I'll tell you again, I've said it before. Dart needs to sit. Dart needs some time. These are the guys that could step in and change a franchise potentially. If you want your Jaden Daniels type of player, first off, you got to set the bar a little lower. But these are the 2 guys that are potentially there that could come in and make an impact in a rookie year if they have to play. And I think Sanders is the one the Giants prefer. And it sounds like he does prefer also the Giants, just based on the way he's talked. And he's talked about it multiple times. He said things like that. So, hopefully, if this is what the Giants want, this is what happens. Because I want the excuse to be over. Because I feel like that's the excuse. Oh, Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen didn't have a chance to draft their own quarterback. 3 drafts?
3 drafts, no quarterback. But they paid a lot of money to one.
They have selected not to do it, and they selected to pay a ton of money to another guy instead who had 1 mid-season. So I don't give them that pass, but I keep hearing that pass. So let them draft their quarterback. Let's figure out if they're the future or not. Let's move on if they're not. But this is the guy they seem to want. So let's get him. And I'm not anti-Sanders. Like I kind of sounds like I'm anti-Sanders. I'm not anti-Sanders. Yeah. Really not. My problem is I know in reality he's not a legit top 3 pick in the draft. It's a reach.
Yeah, especially last year. I mean, Grant, you took time, you waited, in this draft, which was a very smart move on him last year. Because what was he like? Talked about being a 3rd round grade,
a 2nd round, probably based on what you were hearing.
He was like a top 10 prospect. I mean, Grant, the way that draft went,
quarterback,
quarterback, quarterback.
I'm just making sure he's a top 10 prospect.
Yeah, there was, especially the quarterback room left last year. He could have been 1st round, but anyway, you're sitting there, you're thinking, going in the 2nd round, 3rd round. There's a lot of like prospects of quarterback coming out of this draft. Let's sit a year and let's get you to the top 10.
Yep.
Actual top 10, not top 10 quarterback, top 10.
Hey, I mean, he'll definitely be a top 10 pick, but it's a matter of is he a top 3? We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out. So, all righty, guys. Yeah. Let's talk about the Lions for a second here because they just hired a former Giant to be the new defensive coordinator. So now, of course, the Lions lost Aaron Glenn, who was hired as the Jets head coach. Also, obviously, they lost Ben Johnson on the offensive side. But we're talking specifically the defense here. So they obviously needed to hire a new defensive coordinator. They hired Kelvin Shepard, who was their linebackers coach for the last couple of years. He played football in the NFL from 11 to 18, including with the Giants 16 and 17. He appeared in 23 games, 17 starts in those 2 seasons, had 99 tackles overall. So, good to see a ex-Giant moving on up there because, listen, that means he's one stop away from a head coaching job. And I don't know about y'all, but I love when I see a guy that I saw play, was younger and becomes a coach. Like Dan Campbell's a classic example. Like Dan Campbell will always be like that kind of once a Giant, always a Giant kind of guy.
Yes.
Like he was a Giant. He speaks highly about the organization. He, people in the organization speak highly about him. It just didn't line up timing wise for us to get him potentially, I think that it'd be nice to see another ex-Giant get a head coaching job eventually. And he's, like I said, one stop away. His predecessor got there. I feel bad for where his predecessor went to the Jets there, but that was his choice. That was his choice. So, congratulations though to Kelvin Shepherd there on the new position there. So, speaking of ex-Giants moving up, do you know that Mike Kafka completed a second interview with the Saints? And rumor is, according to ESPN's Jordan Raanan, that if hired, he intends on bringing Wink Martindale on as his defensive coordinator.
Interesting.
Could you imagine, doing having the Mike Kafka, Wink Martindale duo, and imagine if they were actually successful? How bad would that make the Giants look, guys?
Yeah.
Like, really, really bad. I mean, I'll tell you this. If I was a prospective coach, I would not want that job. They're in cap hell. They may be moving on from Carr. They don't really have another option at quarterback. Like, it's a bad scenario to start off your job. It really is. Like, if you are a guy who is, say, an established coach that's guaranteed to get at least a few years and develop this squad, not a bad fit. Because they're going to give you the time to do it. When you're a guy like Mike Kafka, do you think Kaf's going to get 3 years to develop this team, or do you think after like a year or two, it's like, okay, you didn't do anything, you're gone?
That's 100%. That's a Saints organization for you.
Yeah, and like I said, I want Kafka gone, and not because I don't like Kafka. I don't have anything against him whatsoever. I feel like the Giants have actually done him wrong, and I think he deserves his freedom because of that. But when it boils down to it, you still want to put yourself in the right position, because you typically get one chance in the NFL to be a head coach. Maybe two if you're lucky.
Sometimes you get twice.
Yeah.
And then you go back to the Commanders and you look really good.
And if that's your one shot, that's a bad scenario for your one shot to be in. Absolutely. Now, you could also sit there and say, though, that he would take it potentially because of the fact that who else is going to offer him that gig, the head coaching job?
Yeah.
Let's be honest here, guys. He is the offensive coordinator for the worst offense in the entire league. And I know Daboll calls the play and Daboll calls the shots. Your still job is offensive coordinator for the most uncoordinated offense in the NFL. That's not a good look when you go to a job interview. Like, what was your last job? What is your major accomplishments? Well, we had the worst offense in the league last year.
Yeah. How'd you improve that? Well, for the worst.
So, I just don't know. And I'm still shocked he's getting interviews, to be honest with you guys. But he got a couple guys they're looking at ahead, and I think they're probably ahead of Kafka on their wish list there, so to speak. You got ex-Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy, Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, also going to go in for an interview as well. So, we'll see what happens. But I think they kind of keep Kafka around as a, it's
just in case.
Maybe we can't get these guys, and this is our backup plan.
Yeah.
The backup to the backup.
To the backup.
Well, I'm just saying, like, again, no disrespect to Kafka. Like I said, we've talked about it before. I don't think Kafka is the bigger problem in the offense, but unfortunately, he's associated with it. That stench goes on to him there,
Yeah.
But it should be like a candle to stop the stench or something. But that's a whole separate topic of the day. The biggest issue is going to be is that look at Kellen Moore, successful now with the Eagles, got a lot of praise for his work in Dallas. Was an OC also in the Chargers, and obviously didn't have the best time there per se, but that goes on to the head coach more than him, I think, at that point there. But had success at least at 2 out of 3 spots he's been at as an offensive coordinator. And then you got Mike McCarthy, who took the Cowboys to playoffs multiple times.
12 in McCarthy.
Took the Packers multiple times to the playoffs, including a Super Bowl victory. I mean, both these guys have much more impressive resumes than saying I've been an offensive coordinator for 3 years and went to the playoffs once and stunk the other 2.
Yeah.
It's hard to go in there and go, ooh. Like, you know what's funny? Like, you look at like the Cowboys. Obviously, they hired Schottenheimer to be their head coach, which is a whole other debacle unto itself. But look how like the fans were pissed. You know, like, could you imagine telling your fan base, guess what, guys? We fixed the problem. Mike Kafka's the head coach. He's going to straighten this ship out. Could you imagine trying to sell that to your fan base? We hired the offensive coordinator for the worst offense in the entire league to lead our entire team. We thought he deserved a promotion.
Yeah. Hey, you thought our offense was inept last year? Wait, do we got an answer for you?
But like I said, imagine for a minute, though, if that happens. And Kafka and Martindale succeed there. How bad did the Giants look then? How bad does Brian Daboll look?
I was about to say he and Chain are definitely out of a job.
You know, I mean,
Like,
you got this year, you got Barkley going to the Super Bowl after they let him go and basically talked like he was, you know, washed up. And then the next year, you'd have that. I'm just saying the PR department's going to be working some overtime, it seems like to me.
They work hard for the money.
And like I said,
so hard for the money.
I joke around about it being a hard sale for the Saints. I actually think that Kafka is a good offensive mind. I think the issue is Daboll getting in his way nonstop. And I think that, you know, again, he deserves his freedom. I don't like what the Giants have done to him as far as giving the play calling, taking the play calling, giving the play calling, taking the play calling, taking away all last year and making him sit through that embarrassment. He's probably sitting up in the press box going, Daboll, you moron. What the hell were you calling that play for?
Yeah.
Like, we were at home. I highly doubt that he doesn't like do the same thing. You know, I don't front and try to say that we know more than the coaches in the NFL. They know more. So if we're sitting there going, what the hell are you doing, Daboll? You don't think he is?
Yeah.
So
you're sitting there like, really? You gotta run there? Like, that's okay.
Yeah. So like I said, I root for the guy. I do. I will not root for Wink Martindale. I think he's probably a schmuck because you look at that and the fact that he had issues in Baltimore the same exact way. He never held a job more than a couple of years in the NFL, basically at all. Had one year as a defensive coordinator for the Broncos. And that's it. You know, got mutually let go with both the Ravens and the Giants. You know, now 1 year with Michigan. Like, look at his resume, guys. He doesn't hold the job long usually. And I know guys move around as they're trying to move up. He's past the moving up time period. Like, his only spot to move up would be a head coaching job. He just moves around. That tells me issues.
Yeah. It's like that person's always got a new job.
Yeah. It's like the Yannick Ngakoue of defensive coordinators.
Oh.
Yeah, I went there.
You did.
I did, because there's got to be something wrong with him, too. He's been to a new team every single year, sometimes 2 a year.
Yeah.
So he's had, like, what, seven teams in the last 3 years, it feels like?
It's like that Dennis Leary song.
Which song?
He's an asshole.
Oh. I wasn't really a Dennis Leary guy, so I don't know. I know more Adam Sandler songs.
It's the only one I know. It's fantastic.
So let's talk about a little more positive news here for the Giants. After we pay the bills real quick, guys.
Woo.
Then we'll get to some comments.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
And, of course, you can also support the show by doing super chats on YouTube, stars on Facebook, and, of course, also the freeway. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the share, whatever platform you're on.
The trifecta.
Move to other platforms and do the same thing if you want. Even feel free. There are no limitations on how many platforms you can like, subscribe, and share on. Just saying. Feel free. We're on plenty of them. That's for sure. So appreciate you guys, though, in advance, though, for watching and listening there. A lot of support given us lately. Like I said, we've seen a big increase here in views, downloads, everything there, on pace for our biggest month yet. And like I said, the Giants aren't even playing.
was coming off a terrible year.
Yeah, like already playing coming off a horrible year. So I can imagine what the views and all be then, So definitely, like I said, appreciate everybody's support there. All right, let's get back into the news here. We got, like I said, we got some more happier news to give. Malik Nabers is going to the Pro Bowl.
He's a Pro Bowl.
Not as a fan sitting in the stands like he's done the last couple games there for Jaden Daniels to go support him. He's going to be a member of the NFC roster. He's replacing Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. So he finished the season, obviously 109 catches. That was 5th overall in the NFL, 1,204 receiving yards, 7th best in the NFL, set NFL rookie record for receptions by a wide receiver, set all-time Giants record for receptions. Definitely well deserved. And I'm going to say this as well, not to beat a dead horse here.
That's a silly thing.
He basically did it with the equivalent of one hand tied behind his back by having the quarterbacks we had this season.
Yeah. Which one? All 4 of them.
Exactly. Can you imagine if I told you how bad the Giants quarterbacks were going to play, and I tell you that Malik Nabers is literally going to break NFL and Giants records his rookie year with that poop show at the quarterback position. Yeah. Sign me up in a heartbeat, I would have said. Sign me up in a heartbeat to be in the season if you offer me that.
Yeah, 100%.
So, and he's also the first wide receiver for the Giants going to the Pro Bowl since Odell Beckham Jr. back in 2016, which was Odell's 3rd consecutive and last overall appearance at the Pro Bowls. People forget that, guys. That's 10 years since Odell Beckham has been to a Pro Bowl.
That's so crazy to hear.
Right? A, it makes me feel old, and B, it just completely, I think, validates what we've been saying forever, that Odell has not been the same since off the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, it's been obvious, but like some people just had the nostalgia.
They don't get it.
They need to go back.
They need to just bang their head against that brick wall a few more times, apparently. It's just he's not the same guy. Though I still think, honestly, again, depending on where he's at mentally, I know people hate me saying that, but I don't care. He's a bit of a head case at times. Depending where he's at mentally, I wouldn't mind Odell coming back next year as like a swan song season. Let's be honest, he doesn't have much left in the tank. Like that gas light's on. He's like struggling to get around the block to get to the gas station at this point. But it'd be like, it'd be something nice for the fans. And considering how little the fans have had nice things to talk about, it'd be nice.
But what's going to happen is, that does happen. Everyone's going to talk about how much trash he is.
You know what? And he'd probably get in a fight with a kicking net again or something. And do some magazine article and trash, whatever quarterback we have next year. Who knows? That's the problem you run into. He can't get out of his own way, or get caught in a plane or something like that, and a video will come out.
Pants down.
Yeah, just craziness. But like I said, Malik Nabers, though, deserves a lot of credit for what he did this year. And, like I said, I'm glad to see it. He's a huge building block. Like, I hear a lot of Giants fans talking, oh, we need more stars in this team. Listen, don't get me wrong. I will never dispute needing more stars. I think there's not a single fan base that's like, yes, give me more. Like, no, I have enough stars. I don't need any more stars on my team. No one will ever say that. But when you look at the guys we have, the Malik Nabers, Andrew Thomases, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, you can't say there's not stars on this team. What we lack is a supporting cast around them and a quarterback.
Yeah, very important parts.
Yeah, very important parts there, guys. So, like I said, glad to see he's getting recognized. Deserves it. I will actually be in Orlando this weekend, so it'd be kind of cool if I ran into him. I'm not going to the Pro Bowl this year, but I'm going to be at Disney Friday, Saturday. And a lot of the players, typically, that's what they do, is they go to Disney Universal like that over the weekend. So maybe you happen to run into someone. It'd be nice. So,
yeah.
I doubt it. What's the chances? Not very high. All righty, guys. One more topic here, and then we'll get into your comments here. So Daniel Jeremiah, and of course, he was a Bullfrog and was a good friend of mine. But he had his latest mock draft here, and I always try to keep an eye on who these guys have for us. Some of the bigger names, we did one on Mel Kiper last week, because they tend to have their ear to the ground a little bit. They don't do mock drafts based on who they think teams should take. They do who they think they're going to take as well. And he had the Giants getting Miami quarterback Cam Ward at number 3. I haven't seen that one very often at all. And I think a lot of this is coming off the news that the Titans had this week where they said they want a generational talent. They won't force a pick of a quarterback, basically. They may even trade the pick. Like, they've said all those things, obviously. And let's be honest, early on, things could change. There's a lot of smoke screens, a lot of BS going around. But in their mock draft, in his mock draft, Cam Ward was available at 3. And he said the Giants are desperate for a quarterback. Ward's strong arm and playmaking ability would be a great fit. Not wrong. I wouldn't be upset getting Cam Ward. Again, he falls the same as Sanders. Is he worth a top 3 pick? Probably not. We're probably reaching, but we're reaching for the most important position in all of football. That's the position you would reach for. In his mock, Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter went 1st overall to the Titans, and Colorado wide receiver corner Travis Hunter went 2nd to the Browns there. So if you're wondering how we got Cam Ward when everybody else is pretty much mocking him at 1st, that's who went, how he went overall. Now, he had a big drop also for Shedeur Sanders, who went number 6 overall to the Raiders in that, which I think is crazy. I got to think some team's going to trade up at that point to get him if he starts dropping like that. He starts dropping 4 or 5. Like, someone's going to trade up and try to beat out the Raiders, because I think everybody knows that the Raiders would just absolutely cream their pants at the chance to go ahead and get Shedeur Sanders. Like, that's how excited they'd be. Like, seriously, it's like they would be able to stand up for a week straight. Like, they've been desperate for this for a guy like him. And let's be honest, that turns that fan base in. Oh my God, we got Pete Carroll and Shedeur Sanders. Like, we got potentially the best quarterback in this draft, and we got a rock solid coach.
Yeah,
it'd be hard not to be pumped up here for a Raider fan, But like I said, we'll see how it plays out. I don't think that's going to happen that way. So we'll find out how it goes in our mock draft in a second here. Let's get to those comments though first, which is mostly Dakota gloating already. I'll just say that right now because he says embarrassing. Steven says, please Saints hire Kafka. Like I said, he deserves it. And then Derek says, LOL, what an awful draft to have a high pick. You're not getting Cam Ward or Shedeur. We'll see about that one still. Then he says, you're getting Travis Hunter. I would laugh so hard. How do you keep this GM? We've been asking that one for a while. He says, anti-Sanders, 2nd round pick. The desperation causes this. That's what happens. And he brags about being Super Bowl bound. Well, like I said, even if you get a ring, Dakota, the Eagles are still only halfway to the Giants. That's the truth of the matter.
Yeah, halfway there.
I get to brag by all means. Take gloat. I mean, you go to the Super Bowl, you're potentially going to win a Super Bowl. But like I said, it's only going to be going for your 2nd ring. And God forbid they find a way to stop Barkley, and Jalen Hurts has to actually do something. They'll be in trouble. So, and he says, you guys should become a sports show, not simply a Giants show. Diversify. We don't have time to diversify. The Giants alone keep us very busy. Plus work, life, all that stuff. Honestly, I would love to do it. And if I ever got the chance to quit my job and do it, I'd be very happy to do so. I won't say it's not potentially on the horizons one day, but, who knows what day that is. Could be 5 years from now, could be 10 years, could be 20. I could be in a retirement home somewhere talking about sports. Who knows? We'll find out.
It's probably going to be the truth.
Probably. Deb says, rumor mill right now is McCarthy is top candidate for Saints. And it makes sense. I just don't think, if I'm Mike McCarthy, I don't think I would take the job. Like I said, I don't think it's a good job. I really don't.
Yeah.
If I was McCarthy, I would take the year off, kind of like Vrabel did. Consult for somebody, we take an extra consultant. Consult for somebody, and then go ahead and see where you're at from there, because he's had, like I said, 2 jobs now with success, different levels, obviously. He can get a 3rd job, but if you bomb out your next job, you might not get that. And I really do think whoever goes to the Saints is going to probably bomb out. We'll see. We'll see if I'm right. I've been wrong before. So the Imp says, after the debacle yesterday, do we really have to endure another year of shame and Daboll? Yes, we do, unfortunately. Andre says, yo, Drew and Rob, who do you expect to be the significant weapon? Be afraid to see your trade, according to Rodden on a report. I don't see, honestly, getting a massive weapon. I think we already have our weapon in Malik
Nabers.
Nabers. And I think that's their weapon. I don't see that happening. I
see Theo having a good year coming up. You're gonna have a rookie quarterback most likely. You're gonna have a rookie quarterback most likely starting for you, not like a bridge quarterback like we would all love to see. And what do they typically like?
Yeah,
they like their tight ends to bail them out, a little safety blanket, if you will.
Yeah, and listen, there's been talks of Cooper Kupp. I've heard the rumor of Stephon Diggs. First off, I want nothing to do with Diggs. And Cooper Kupp is the Azeez Ojulari of wide receivers at this point. You can't count on him for a season.
I was going to say he would be a fun addition. He from all accounts, what I've heard, he's a great guy. He's a great guy in the locker room, but that's it. His health is a problem, and the best ability that you could have out there is availability. And when you're constantly hurt, playing 10 games a season instead of you're 17 or hopefully 20. There's a big difference when you're playing half that.
Now, if you're telling me that I can get Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford in a trade, and I can somehow make it work money-wise, what the hell? You want to throw Cooper Kupp in? I'd rather have Matt Stafford. Let whoever get quarterback develop for a year or so, But like I said, I don't know. I don't see a major weapon. I think they want to get one. We talked about DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know what's going to happen with him at the end of the year. He might just want to stay in Kansas City after what happened, the best scenario he's ever been in his career. But, we'll see what happens there. Clinton Jones, hey, Drew Rob, what's up, man?
How you doing?
We're doing good. How you doing? Henry Johnson says, Cam Ward, the truth. And Andre says, Garrett Wilson will be interesting, only 24 years old, him and Nabers. Here's the problem is that you got two guys that are top flight receivers and you have to pay them eventually.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not a big fan of going and wide receiver. Don't get me wrong. You need a top flight wide receiver to have a dynamic offense. Unless you have a top flight quarterback. Unless you have a Mahomes or a Josh Allen or something like that, which obviously we don't have. But you don't need to have all wide receivers everywhere. Like that's not how you win with wide receivers everywhere like that are amazing like that. Eventually, they're all ball hawks. Typically, they all want the ball.
I was gonna say there's a pecking order when it comes to it. Like it comes down to it. Like you're wide one. Like there's a reason why they're that good. Like because they're talented. They put a lot of hard work in. But with that also comes an ego, most likely, because like. You've been the best at that position your whole life. Like you developed and like you've been told your whole life you're something special. Now you're gonna have to come to the Giants, be the number 2 behind a rookie. You don't think there's gonna cause like some animosity like in the locker room?
Yeah, I
don't think.
Yeah.
Even still, when you're the wide one and things aren't going your way, you start kicking nets and peeing on what you call it.
Well, I'm saying it happens. I mean, listen, it happens. Henry also says, I think he's talking about OBJ because we're in that segment. I think when he said this, he said he can work at Walmart for a year, then come back to the league. He's not working at Walmart. I think he's fine money wise. I hope so for his sake. He made enough money. He should be able to, go ahead and save up and do what he's got to do there. That's for sure. All right, guys, let's go into our mock draft here. So this is going to be, like I said, this is going to be a thing we're going to start doing. We're doing one a month here for you guys. And we did it with no trades this time. And not because we didn't want to, because there was no trades that make sense. We had who we wanted at pick 3 overall available. I'm going to say that point blank. We had the spots lined up to where we're going to be. So future ones we may have trades, but we didn't do it this time. So first off, in our mock draft here. Listen, we already see him in the picture. It's pretty obvious if you're watching on the video. Pick number 3 is going to be Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, Colorado. Now, for a lot of these guys, I'm going to go over stats with you guys, tell you a little about who they are. I don't think Shedeur Sanders needs any introduction whatsoever at this point, right? And I'll say it. I've already said it twice in the show. I'll say it again. Is it a reach? 100%. But if you're going to reach, you reach at quarterback. It is the most important position on the field. You either have a quarterback or you don't. We don't have a quarterback. Let me be very clear to you on that. We do not have a quarterback. We are the have-nots right now. This is trying to make us the haves. So Shedeur Sanders comes in, pick number 3 overall. We run to the podium, point blank run, because there was a good chance that, like I said, those 2 guys could be gone. In this case, actually, both guys were there. I'll tell you that, guys, right now. Both guys were there. That mock draft actually started off the same way that Daniel Jeremiah's did, with Abdul Carter in 1, and number 2 was Travis Henry. And if I'm making the call, I'm probably going Cam Ward. But I think the Giants would take Shedeur Sanders. And I'm okay with that. Because if that's who they want and that's who they feel confident with, go with it. Go with it 100%, guys. Because it's your job on the line. I want no excuses. So, all righty, guys. Pick number 2 here. Round 2.
Round 2.
Pick 34 is Armon-Ra, offensive tackle out of Missouri, 6'3", 314 pounds, just years old, guys. That's about as young as it gets. You're not going to find an 18-year-old coming into the NFL draft. They're way too young. 12 starts this past season with a 90.4 PFF grade, guys. 35 college starts overall, and he saw a great mix of plays in college. This past season, 416 run plays and 410 pass plays. So, good mixture, 50-50 there. His stats, 0 sacks given up, 0 hits given up on the quarterback, and just 9 hurries overall. That's not too shabby. Pro Football Network says he's a powerful, athletic right tackle who brings a rare combination of strength and technique. A true standout at Missouri, he thrived against top-tier pass rushers, proving himself as one of the most battle-tested blockers in the country. His dominance in 2024 speaks for itself, making him a potential cornerstone of any offensive line. Now, I know, guys, some people will say, wait a minute, we got Jermaine Illuminor. You know what the beauty of having Jermaine Illuminor is? He can play anywhere.
He could go anywhere.
Listen, we'll find a spot for Jermaine Illuminor. Do not you worry. And the nice thing is, again, this kid's 20 years old. There is no need to force him into the starting lineup. You could let him sit for a year, and he's still 22 years old when the season starts, because he would be 21 before the season starts, I should say that. So he's still coming out a year or two younger than most people, where you can give a little time for him to develop. And he could be your swing tackle. So let's be honest, guys. Josh Zudu ain't cutting it.
Nope. Zudu equals doo-doo.
And we got to continue. Like I said, I don't want to say we have to fix the line. Like I hear a lot of people, you have to fix this line. You have to fix this line. No, you have to continue to fix the line. Because before all the injuries, guys, this was a better line. And I know that wasn't much of the season. People kind of forget what happened before Andrew Thomas went down, before everybody else got hurt again. We're on our 4th left tackle at this point of the season. This was an okay offensive line at that point. I want to say great. It was an okay offensive line for the first, 5 games of the season or so.
Yeah, well, what we ranked the highest 30 years? 16, 15?
Something like that. So I'm saying, like,
from 31.
Yeah. Now,
that's an improvement.
Was the offensive line horrible at the end of the season? Hells yes. Hells yes. Once we got, pretty much every single player hurt. Think about that. I mean, you had Runyon was out. You had, Illuminor was hurt at certain points. Obviously Andrew Thomas missed most of the season. Evan Neal, even, not that he's that great, but he still also got hurt now for a while there at that point. JMS got hurt. Yeah. Every single person got hurt basically. Except for Greg Van Roden. Kudos to you, Van Roden. Yeah. So it's a guy who can step in. If he shows up great, you can go, you know what? I'm going to move this guy to my right tackle position. I'm going to put Illuminor inside at guard, where he's also comfortable and can play. Or I say, you know what? He needs a little time. I don't want to put him out there and rush him. Let him sit for a year behind Illuminor. Illuminor's only got a 2-year deal. And I can plan for him to be the right tackle of the future. And let's see how he does this season and how he shows up in practice, see how he compares to Illuminor. You can't lose, guys.
No.
Can't lose. Next up, a third pick there, round 3. Pick
Round 3.
65. Steven was excited. Tate Ratledge, guard out of Georgia, 6'6", 320 pounds, 23 years old, played almost exclusively at the right guard position. Now, Georgia also a little different than what we talked about a moment ago with Missouri. They were definitely much more of a passing team. So ran 189 run plays and 311 pass plays. So you got a good idea of what he can do as a pass blocker. And he allowed just 1 sack, 2 hits, and 4 hurries. That's not too shabby there. Pro Football Network said Ratledge is a top interior offensive lineman prospect for the 2025 NFL Draft, projected as a day 2 pick, known for his strength, powerful blocking, and mobility. Ratledge pairs his starting experience with reliable pass protection and run blocking skills, making him a ready contributor at the next level. Now, I know, guys, I said already that we're getting a right tackle. We could potentially move Illuminor into guard if we have to. Because you draft somebody doesn't mean they have to start right away.
No,
This is right back to what I said a minute ago.
We talked about this even prior. It's like, just because you draft someone doesn't mean you need to start them right away.
No.
Some of the best players play the best after sitting in the NFL for a year.
Yep.
And then going in.
But at the same point, Greg Van Roten is a free agent. You have also going to Runyon, who's, let's be honest, overpaid. At the end of this year, you can get rid of him if need be as well. Like, you always need to be adding to the offensive line. And our offensive line has had so much issues because we've had no backups when the starters get injured. Here's a guy who can walk in and be your backup guard. Worst case scenario. Or he walks in and takes the job away from a veteran.
Yeah.
I have no problem with either scenario.
I was going to say, either way, he's really cheap and for either one of those roles.
Exactly. I have no problem with either one of those. And let's be honest, Georgia has a tendency to produce good players, guys. It's not like this is a guy coming from West Texas Christian Polytech University of Abilene. Like, he showed up in one of the toughest spots to show up in college football. Georgia doesn't get weeks off. It's SEC. And like I said, I think he's a good guy for us to go get because he's shown a lot of potential, and he's a guy that we can sit there and, like I said, we can go get him for not even for just for now, but for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And now we got depth, guys. Now we have 2 guys we're bringing in young that are depth, and not just depth, but guys who are going to potentially push for a starting job. And the offensive line, I will never say the word fix because I feel like that's like a curse to say as a Giant fan. But you bring in a quarterback, you bring in 2 guys to shore up this offensive line. And I think we're in a lot better position than we were pre this draft.
Yeah.
Be nice if it worked out this way, I'm just saying.
Probably won't, but it would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice. Round 4, we got 2 picks this round here. So first pick 104. And we're moving on to defense, guys. Can't keep going offense, because the defense has got some big holes here, guys.
Oh, big ones.
So we've talked about this. We talked about this before the season even started. We said there was 2 major positions that are an issue for this Giants defense. The defensive line, I'm not talking about the edge rushers. I'm talking about the front 3, the 3-4, besides Dexter Lawrence. Like, Dexter Lawrence has got that nose tackle position. Just solid, set, done. Outside of him, nothing that special, guys. Nothing that you sit there and go, thank God we got this guy on the roster.
Yeah.
So we're going for a pick here. We're going for Alfred Collins, defensive tackle out of Texas. 6'5", 320 pounds, 23 years old. This past season, 16 games, 55 tackles, 1 sack, 6 tackles for loss, 7 passes deflected, 1 forced fumble, and 87.2 PFF grade overall. And that includes also an 85 run defense grade. I bring this up because what does everybody always complain about with the Giants this past season? Oh, we couldn't stop the run. Oh, we couldn't stop the run. Oh, we couldn't stop the run. I wanted to make sure that we got somebody here, guys, who can stop the run. And I wanted to make sure it was somebody who played well with Dexter Lawrence, because I'm not looking for a guy who's a nose tackle. We had that. We don't have much. That we have.
Yeah.
And if you look at where he lined up last year at Texas, he lined up 299 snaps at the B gap. Now, for those who don't know what that is, the B gap is in between the guard and the tackle. He lined up 145 snaps at the A gap. That's between the guard and the center. So that's much more the spots like a Dexter Lawrence would move into. 129 over the tackle and 19 snaps outside of the tackle, like an edge rusher kind of spot there. So he plays the spots that Dexter Lawrence doesn't. And he's a big body who stops the run and actually has shown some ability to push the pocket. He's not a guy who's got to the quarterback a lot, but he's definitely gotten a chance to get to the, push that pocket a little bit and help those edge rushers over at Texas there. So Pro Football Network says Collins is making waves his senior year, showing NFL potential beyond the stat sheet. At 6'6" and 320 with a projected 35-inch arm length, he has the physical tools to excel on the interior defensive line. While his production could improve, his ability to disrupt opposing offenses stands out. NFL teams will likely be drawn to his immense upside as they weigh his draft stock. So, yeah, again, guys, we're filling a need here.
Yeah.
Filling a need.
A big need, if you will.
Both literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
That's a big guy. 6'5", 320.
Yeah, it's a massive dude.
And, we always said, got to fix the trenches. We get the quarterback. We got a 320-pound guard. We got a 314-pound tackle. And now a 320-pound defensive tackle. We are stacking up the line here, guys. Building the trenches. So.
Yeah.
All right, next up. You got second of our round 4 picks. 134. Jared Ivey, edge out of Ole Miss. Eli's alma mater here. 6'6", 285 pounds, 23 years old. Played the last 3 years at Ole Miss. Played 2 years prior to that over at Georgia Tech. This past season, 12 games, 42 tackles, 7 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, 3 passes deflected, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 forced fumble with a 90.6 PFF grade. Bleacher Report said about him, said overall Ivy can at least be a good 2-down player who is a starter during his rookie contract, especially as an even front defensive end. How much he'll be able to contribute as a pass rusher is questionable, but a team that already has a good pass rush specialist on the edge and is willing to work with him on the interior should be intrigued by Ivy's game. Well, besides the 3-4 part and 4-3 part, because let's be honest here, we are 3-4, but I think we could say we have a good pass rush specialist. And Brian Burns is being paid $30 million a year. You better be a good pass rush specialist.
You would hope so.
Yeah. And you got Azeez Ojulari. This is a guy that, let's say hypothetically, somebody gets hurt next year. If we re-sign Azeez Ojulari, you put this guy in, you put Ojulari in specifically on passing downs, and the two of them are a very good combo potentially here. Because we need depth at that position, guys. We don't have edge rushers. Right now we have Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Timon Fox.
Yay!
What does the Fox say? Not much.
Missed tackle.
Yeah. So here's a guy that, because I want to, like I said, I've said before, I want to get Azeez Ojulari back. I want him back in the building. Get him, get Ivy, and now you have 2 decent potential backup edge rushers. And if Ivy surprises you and develops into a good player, maybe you keep him long term, and Kayvon doesn't keep, doesn't progress or wants too much money. He's a replacement for him in a couple years. So,
yeah.
like I said, I think it's a good pick overall. I think it's a guy that specializes more in the run stopping, which has been an issue again for the Giants. Trying to fix his issues. There's a lot of issues to fix.
So many.
Round 5. Pick 155. Raheem Sanders, running back out of South Carolina. 6 foot even, 230 pounds, 22 years old. This past season, 12 games, 183 carries for 881 yards, 11 touchdowns, 27 catches for 316 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns, and 80.7 PFF grade. Now, this was his lone season in South Carolina. All right. And prior to that, he spent 21 to 23 in Arkansas, including having a 1,443-yard rushing season back in 22. Suffered a shoulder injury in 23 that required surgery. He was limited to just 62 carries. He had a knee injury that same year as well, said before that. So, like I said, he's had a little bit of a rough go after that major season. But I think you see the potential in him. 1,400 yards. I think most teams would take that from a running back.
100%.
So, and like I said, he's just getting back this season from those injuries and still showed up pretty well there for South Carolina. NFL Draft Buzz says, when you pop on the film, Sanders jumps out as an every down back, boasting a well-rounded skill set that's becoming a rarity in the college ranks. His vision, power, and burst put him in that elite conversation. But it's not just about the highlight reel. The kid's motor runs hot, and he's shown he can handle a workhorse load, crossing that 250 touch benchmark. Like I said, I think you need another guy to go along with Tyrone Tracy. I think Devin Singletary might be on the team this year because of cap reasons, but he's not the long-term answer. I think Eric Gray should work alongside Evan Neal at the local Burger King.
Yeah.
And, Dante Turbo Miller, let's be honest. Y'all know I like Miller. I'm a big fan of Turbo. But when it boils down to it, he didn't get a chance to play this year. Now, we could sit there and say, like, why didn't you give a chance to play? But you can also, why didn't they give him a chance to play? Like, you can look at it from either angle. Like, this was a missed opportunity by the Giants, or Turbo didn't give them a reason to force that move. And I don't know which one it is. I don't have no way of knowing that, So we have to assume that either one is an option. And going into it with Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy, and that's it? Because I'm sorry, Eric Gray is a waste of a roster spot?
Yeah.
Then that's an issue. So I'd like us to get one in this kind of range, a 5th-round draft pick. Have we got a 5th-round running back before?
It works out pretty well.
Like I said, it doesn't have to be Sanders. I'm just giving him as an example. He was available. We know he's got that potential. We know when you're coming back after a big, injury season, sometimes you're not yourself quite that first season back. So I think he has the potential to have a huge boost now being his second year coming back from those injuries. Like I said, wasn't just a shoulder injury he had that required surgery. He had a knee injury that caused him to miss some times as well before that as well. So it was a rough season for him. And like I said, he was coming back for one last season, trying to rebuild some of that draft capital and draft stock there. And while it's good numbers he has, it's not great. So I think you're getting a guy pretty cheap at that point, potentially, that has that pop potential at that point. So, we'll see how that pans out there. All righty. Next up. We got 7th-round picks coming, guys. And listen, I'm already anticipating we're going to get some poop for this, to put it nicely. We are. I think we're going to get some poop for this.
You might as well, though.
But before I go into who the next 2 players are, I'm just going to say this. They were both available. They're both going to help a certain other person we got in this draft. And why not? Round 7, pick number 221. Safety, Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. 6 foot even, 195 pounds, 24 years old. He'll be 25 in February. So he's definitely a little older side for being a rookie here in this league. Last year, Colorado, 10 games, 67 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 passes deflected, 2 fumble recoveries, including one of them for a touchdown, which actually was his second year in a row with a touchdown. He had an interception return for a touchdown in 23. 1 forced fumble and a 68.3 PFF grade. Played also at Jackson State in 21 and 22. Played also in South Carolina in 19 and 20 as well. Pro Football Network said Shedeur Sanders is a Colorado safety looking to carve his own path to the 2025 NFL Draft. While he's shown strong instincts and ball skills, he lacks athleticism and size to be an early selection. At 6 foot, even 195 pounds, he'll need to prove his versatility, particularly on special teams, to secure an NFL opportunity. And this is where I expect him to be. I expect him to be a special teamer that you can potentially pop in on dime nickel positions. That's all I'm expecting out of this kid. Let me be very clear on this, because I feel like people hear the Sanders name. And yes, he is Deion's other kid at Colorado, for those who haven't figured that out. I'm not expecting Deion. I'm not. I'm expecting Dean Belton.
Yeah, that's fair.
And even that might be setting the bar a little high. It's a 7th round pick. How many 7th round picks don't even make it out of the rookie camp, or don't make it out of training camp?
A lot.
Look at Javarius Owens. Just say that he was in the practice squad. In 23, got cut before 24. He was a 7th round safety. You don't necessarily expect massive things out of those kind of guys. So if he's a guy that can be a smart player, that can make a contribution on special teams, and eventually be a guy who, maybe does provide something on defense along with that, because me in defense, me and special teamers, I want guys who can actually pop on defense or offense too.
It's silly when you go a special position for just special teams. Like, you have to get this guy for your special teams, especially because, like, you want your backups almost to be your special teamers, if you will, because you need them to be able to go into a game. It saves you roster spots down the road. If you're just literally taking everyone and having their own spot in special teams, like, it's kind of silly.
I think my problem, I think, is the fact that I still remember the Joe Judge days where he'd get 3 or 4 people just for special teams.
Yeah, PTSD there.
We had 2 or 3 fullbacks at one point. I'm like, stop this! What are you doing? You need offensive defensive players too. I think it's just made me a little.
It's how the football game. It's how the football game's won on special teams.
Yeah, apparently. But like I said, you get the second Sanders here, and then our second pick on the round 7, pick 250, wide receiver, Will Sheppard from Colorado. No lie, I'm looking at who's available in that last pick, and I'm like, you know what? We haven't got a receiver yet. And literally, there was 3 receivers that popped up. And when you're telling me we're going to get the 3rd overall pick, Shedeur Sanders, and we have the option to get one of his receivers in the 7th round like that, to give him some continuity, some kind of, familiarity, why would I take a different receiver from a different school that has the same skill levels as the guy he's already played with? It just doesn't make sense to me. So now you get one of his receivers and his brother on the team with him. I think that helps his comfort level. I think that gives him a support system that he's familiar with at that point, and I think that helps him. And I know people are going to hate and say, "Oh, a support system, he's too soft." No, it's not that. Listen, that is a big, mental, tough kind of thing to go through to become a starting quarterback in this league, especially in New York. Especially. That much more on your plate because your last name is Sanders. People can talk about the nepotism part all they want. And listen, nepotism is real. It's there. He's where he's at partially because of his last name. Point blank, I'll say it. Because his dad was able to coach him, train him, get him the best possible people to train him. He was basically out of the womb to be a football player.
Pretty much.
And like I said, I'm not knocking it. He had that opportunity. I've never heard him gloat about it, so I'm not going to knock him for it. But there's also the negative nepotism. He comes in with a whole lot more, expected of him because he's a Sanders.
Because he's also going so high in this draft. There's a lot. With minus the name Sanders. If you're going to take him as a first or second quarterback in the NFL draft, there's a lot on your shoulders.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Watching your games, there'll be breaking news on ESPN when you pop in your first preseason game. Like that's how this goes, guys. That's how this goes.
Look at all the hype around Cleve Williams. Like,
look at it. Same thing. So much hype is funny. So much hype.
Same thing with when you're talking about Daniels. Like, I mean, granted, there's a lot towards the end because of how well the Commanders played this year, but there's been a lot of hype on him.
Yeah. So if you get the chance late in this draft to get guys that are legitimate prospects at that point, like, let me be very clear: Shiloh Sanders and Will Shepard are both legitimate 7th round pick prospects. Then why not take the shot? Why not take the shot and go ahead and get a support system like that started for him? So on to Shepard's stats here: 6'3", 205 pounds. I gotta honest with you guys. I try to find his age everywhere. His age is not found anywhere. It's funny how when you get to the later prospects in the draft, we've had that happen before. They just don't show their age. Now, his first year in college was 2020. So I have to imagine he's about 22 years old, just based on doing the math. So he figured about 18, 19 that year. So he should be about 22 years at that point. Give or take a year either direction there. This past season, 13 games, 48 receptions, 621 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's a lot of touchdowns for somebody who only had 621 yards. And he was one of the red zone targets that Sanders depended on at Colorado. Spent 4 seasons prior to his year at Colorado at Vanderbilt as well. So he's been a well-seasoned player there. Draft Network said overall Shepard is a talented and savvy wide receiver who projects as a wide receiver 3 with potential wide receiver 2 upside. He will improve NFL's offense red zone efficiency with his contested catch ability. Now, I'll say this: Draft Network is high on crack. I don't think there's any way in hell he's a potential 2. I think his ceiling is a 3 or a 4. I think that's his ceiling. Again, 7th round pick. I got to keep it real. I got to keep it realistic. Here's what he does do very well. He's got some shiftiness to him. So he can get a little open because of that. He lacks top end speed. Like, you have a very short window when he moves at that point to get the ball to him before the other guy's going to catch up to him and realize the mistake. He's a good, as they said, contested catch. He's good in the end zone. But because of the issues with him, with his speed, it's going to cause issues. It's like a 4.6 speed is what they're expecting out of him, guys. That's like a tight end speed. But it's a tight end with a 205-pound body. That's not good. So either he's got to put some weight on and actually play tight end, which might put him to a 4.8, or he's going to have to go ahead and just understand this is my, I'm doing the quick routes that depend on me making a one move and getting a little bit of separation because of that one move. Or I'm an end zone specialist kind of guy, or I'm somebody who helps out in special teams and they pop in once in a blue moon. Neither one is a bad role for a 7th round pick. If you tell me I'm going to get either one of those with the 7th round, I'm happy.
100%.
I'd love to sit there and tell you every single pick will be a Pro Bowler. Like, that's not realistic. We don't want to be that podcast. The truth of the matter is, if we get a quarterback that's our quarterback overall with the first pick, we get 2 more guys with their 2nd and 3rd round that help shore up the offensive line and set us up for success, not just this year, but going forward. We help shore up the defensive line, get a nice, decent backup edge rusher, get a guy to add to the group of running backs, and you get a couple of guys that might help out, might not pan out, but they're 7th round picks. We don't know, but they're going to at least provide support for a brand new quarterback, and hopefully they'll provide something otherwise. Maybe we're biased, but I think it's a slam dunk draft right there.
I think there's some good drafting going on right there. Yeah.
I'm just saying, Joe Schoen, call me up. I'm available. I could do no worse than you did in 22 and 23. Just saying.
That's yeah. It's not saying much, though. It's really not saying much.
You can throw shit at a dartboard and do better than he did those years. Just saying. Yep.
Let's go.
Josh Zudu. Oh my gosh.
It's your second round draft pick.
And I'll put the comment up for you because I know you want it up there. Mason said, "Go Big Blue, go! I mean, go!
Let's
Blue,
go, bud! Go Blue, go!"
All righty, guys. That's gonna call it a night for us here today. We'll be back again Wednesday on our regular scheduled time. They're giving you guys all the latest Giants news. We do still have to finish up our season reviews as well of players. We still have to do our secondary and special teams as well. So we got more to come with that there for you guys as well. So again, Wednesday, 9 p.m. As always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, whatever the hell you want to call it, Twitch, and where else?
Drew's LinkedIn page.
My LinkedIn profile, of course. And of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms. That is Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there. If you haven't already, guys, again, if you can, hit that like, hit that subscribe button for us. You can do it on both audio and video as well. You're not limited. You can do it all the video, all the audio. You're not limited in any way, shape, or form. There is no rules against doing that. In fact, we encourage it greatly.
Yeah.
We can also leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That really does help push that out there to all the people in podcast land as well there. So appreciate you guys for listening. Again, we'll see you guys Wednesday night there, 9 p.m. Eastern. And as always, Giant fans,
Go
G-Man! Go
G-Man!
G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.